Good evening and welcome to 60 Minutes. I'm Tom Steinfort in Washington, D.C., where there's been the largest of an unprecedented number of nationwide protests demanding tougher gun control in the United States. What's significant and impressive about these rallies is that they've been organised and led by teenagers, including the students who last month watched their own classmates be gunned down at the Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School in Florida. Across the country, their message is simple: enough is enough. And as you'll see, they've found an unlikely ally, a convicted school shooter who's now spending the rest of his life in prison, regretting his deadly moment of madness.
Enough is enough.
We say no more.
They call themselves the mass shooting generation. And today, hundreds of thousands of them marched on the Capitol and right across America.
I have a dream that enough is enough.
This is a teenage revolution, demanding the land of the free be brave enough to grasp real gun reform and stop this plague of kids killing kids. It's very rare that you get the chance to go face to face with a school shooter, but one has agreed to meet us at his prison in Alaska. Now, this is coincidentally the state that has the highest rate of gun deaths in America. And it was here that a 16-year-old by the name of Evan Ramsey opened fire on his classmates. Back in 1997, school shootings were barely on America's radar, let alone in the tiny Alaskan town of Bethel. But it was here that Evan Ramsey went on his deadly rampage. He's now 20 years into a 198-year prison term. Hello, it's Tom Steinfort from 60 Minutes Australia. He's locked up at the Wildwood Correctional Complex and has offered to give us a rare insight into what really goes through the mind of a school shooter.
I guess you don't get visitors like this every day?
Oh, not every day.
I'm actually only his second visitor in 7 years, but he slowly opens up to detail that dreadful day.
I woke up at about maybe 8 o'clock. Got ready for the day, brushed my teeth and whatnot, and I went downstairs and got the shotgun that I used in my crime and put it down my pants leg and walked to one of the bus stops that I normally go to. And we got on the bus, went to the high school.
Do you remember that moment you fired the first shot?
Yes. I actually, after firing into the crowd, I fired 2 or 3 shots into the ceiling, and I have no idea why. My initial reason for firing into a crowd is there was a couple of boys actually, that I hated. I disliked them so much that I actually hated them.
Did you want them dead?
Yes, I would have killed them if I had the chance. And unfortunately, Josh was shot and he died. And I had nothing against Josh.
15-year-old Josh Palacios was killed along with school principal Ron Edwards, and 2 other students were wounded.
How many people did you want to kill?
I'd rather not say. What is the significance of wanting to know how many people I was interested in murdering?
Well, it just paints a picture of what you were hoping to achieve that day.
Ramsey's motive was simple. After a childhood of physical and sexual abuse in foster care, he was now also being relentlessly bullied and beaten at school.
It started as being called names and people throwing things at me and being beat up by people. I've been attacked by white students for being, I'm half white and half native. I've been attacked for being white by natives, and I've been attacked by natives for being white. I've been spit on for being white. And to this day, I still don't know how I was supposed to ignore somebody spitting on me or putting their hands on me. But I dealt with that for about a year and a half, roughly. And so I decided that I had enough of that. I decided that I was going to take the shotgun to school at that moment.
Had you shot much before?
No, I'd never fired before.
In the 21 years since Ramsey was convicted, school shootings have become almost an epidemic in America, highlighted yet again with the massacre of 17 students and teachers in Florida last month.
You were texting your family saying your goodbyes on the day.
I was telling them that I loved them and that I was scared, and they were just telling me like that there was police outside and that they loved me too.
15-year-old Liam Kiernan thought he was going to die during Nicholas Cruz's rampage at the Stoneman Douglas High School. While he survived, his best friend Gina Montalto didn't. He now comes down to this shrine every day.
We just heard screams and gunshots, and now that I look back on it, my friend was one of the first few to be killed, so I probably heard the gunshot that took her life.
No school kid should ever have to go through this, should they?
No one should ever have to look at their friend in their coffin and tell them goodbye one more time. They had futures ahead of them, all of them.
What do you say to all those people that oppose gun control?
How could you oppose this from getting the guns out of these people's hands and making sure that 17 lives aren't taken away from us again?
The latest mass school shooting here in Florida last month is sadly just a drop in the ocean of a much larger problem. In America, there is an average of nearly one school shooting every week, and across the country, an average of 30 people are murdered with a gun every single day. But despite all of this, there are many that are still adamant guns are not the problem. Coming up, firing back, why gun lovers refuse to give up.
What evidence does anybody have that gun control's worked anywhere?
Australia?
And this school shooter's message
You were 16, you had your whole life ahead of you.
for others like him.
Are you angry at yourself?
That's next on 60 Minutes.